Alright, so I'm going to try and get the rest of these done today.
Don't give me that look, dog. You're about one lifted leg away from becoming a new pair of boots.
You are a handsome canine specimen, aren't you? Yes, you are. Oh, but look at that tiny stubby tail. Would you like a nicer tail? I could give you a long, swishy tail if you like. Just a wave of a wand and poof, tail. You'll adore it, I promise. Or maybe you would like to be a different color.
When will you stop trying to modify my dog?
Perhaps even violet. Oh, dogs need to be pretty too, don't they? Yes, you want to be pretty, pretty dog. That's right. You just love attention, don't you? And you want antlers. A big swishy tail and hey! He made off with my staff.
You had it
I
coming.
underestimated his intelligence.
Hey, you stupid mutt. What are you looking at me for? Well, you better get moving, you great sodding pile of potential poo. Watch where you're going, you sodding great horse of a dog. One day, someone's gonna kick you, beast.
And someone's gonna get his leg
Not
bit
say
off
who,
for it.
but someone. If you just stood still for a minute. You like Ogren, don't you? Ogren's your friend. That's right, we understand each other. Now,
I'd have him
stand
spite
still,
you,
stupid
but I don't want
mutt.
to make my poor dog sick.
Oh, come on! You're so melodramatic. Haven't even put the saddle on yet.
Can I put a saddle on you?
They say the Mabari is clever enough to speak and wise enough to know not to. Tell me, my friend, does this saying apply to you? Are you capable of speech and simply choose not to speak? Sometimes I think the world would be a much friendlier place if we could learn some things from animals. Nothing in the animal kingdom can match the worst qualities of humanity.
Ah, Win. Care to partake of Ogren's fine homebrew? It's the drink of the gods.
Ale, is it? And I hope it's brewed hygienically?
Of course. I may not know clean from a beggar's ass when it comes to most things, but I don't mess around with my ale.
Very well, let's have a taste.
Well, what do you think?
Very nice.
Ah, you like it? Well, I never...
Attractive amber color, nutty flavor, slightly sweet, just a hint of toastiness. There's some spice to it I'm finding hard to place.
Yes?
Is it cloves?
Cloves! Ha ha! By the stone, you're a lady after my own heart. If I weren't buckled in this armor, I'd take you around the corner and,
Give me more ale?
Right. Okay, I've got a better idea now. I know you don't like me on your back, but how about a chariot of some kind, huh?
Only if you're the one
Spiked
pulling it.
wheels, the crest of my house emblazoned in the front. It would look mighty impressive. I could just see it. And you, my great sodding mutt steed, shall charge headlong into the fray, while I stand in my chariot, chopping to the left and to the right. We would fell thousands. Ah, you have no vision. One day you'll see. I'll have my team of Grand Mabari charioteers. You sodding dog. You'll be sorry you didn't get in on the action when you could have. So, Win, how'd you know so bleedin' much about ale? Have some tawdry tale of misspent youth to tell?
Nothing quite so interesting, my friend. The tranquil mages of the Circle just happen to be alchemical miracle workers, and they brew more than just potions. There was always a pitcher or two of fine ale at our supper table.
Well, bless my britches. Maybe when all this is done, I'll chat up one or two of them quiet mages.
Tranquil.
Tranquil, quiet. Insipid. Same difference.
And yet only one of those applies to you.
Sure. Why not?
Pardon?
Oh, I'd give you a roll.
He really
Why not?
wants them both to test
roll?
his magic
Aye,
resistance.
anytime. Preferably in the dark.
I suppose I should be flattered.
I'm not sure I have the equipment for that, but sure, whatever gets you working.
Here, I bought you a towel, a bar of soap, and a razor while we were at the market.
Aye. What is this for?
You wash with it.
I know what soap is, woman. What is this flimsy slip of metal?
It's a razor. You shave with it.
Shave. Any warrior worth his salt keeps his beard. That's what I keep telling Alistair.
It's matted. It has stale food stuck in it.
Oh, that's where that bit of herring got you. Anyway, it keeps my face warm. Doesn't have to be pretty. Besides, the ladies love it.
No.
Tickles them in all
they
the right places if I wag my chin like this.
Oh, just take it. Take it. Why do you occasionally refer to Alistair as a little pike twirler?
Oh, dear.
Why? Is a little pike twirler taking offense?
It's just a curious description.
Curious? It's entirely true. What, you haven't seen him twirling his pike? Goes at it when he thinks no one's watching. Knocks about in the trees like there's no tomorrow. Got him just the other day. Blushed all the way down to his navel. Then couldn't find his shirt. I swear he's gonna hurt himself one of these days. The way he works that thing.
I don't want to hear this anymore, do I?
I keep telling him pikes are for sticking things at long range, aye? Horses and such. Not for twirling.
For once he
like a
wasn't
sissy
being
girl.
lewd.
Wait, you're talking about an actual pike? Like a spear?
Obviously. What else would I be talking about?
I can't imagine.
Ugh, got something in my... sod it.
What are you? Never mind, I don't want to know.
Yeah, that's right. Keep your nose up. You know, just because we don't all live in some tower in the clouds doesn't mean we're worthless.
I didn't.
And furthermore, I don't think I appreciate the way you looked at me last night.
The way I... What?
Oh, you remember. Those longing eyes, hungry for a bit of a tussle.
I never looked at you, dwarf. Definitely not in that way.
Oh, you're right. Must have been the dog. You could show me a little appreciation, you know.
Appreciation? For what?
I saved your ass a while back. When that thing was... You don't even remember.
Oh, I'm sorry,
No, that's fine. Next time I'll just let it get you, that's all. So, you're not tossing yourself at the boss?
What?
Seems like every other woman in this band is tossing herself at the boss feet first. It's like a sodding noble's birthday party around here.
Oh no, the Grey Warden is a little young for me. Both of them are.
Need someone with a little more experience, I guess. Right?
If
I
only
suppose.
either or both of them specialized in fire.
You know where to find me. So, I was thinking...
Did it hurt?
Listen, dwarf. I am not interested in your innuendos, your propositions, or your bodily emanations.
Ew.
But
Quiet.
I just wanted...
Good woman.
No. Keep it to yourself. I'm serious.
Fine.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah, whatever.
Aren't you chilly, Stan?
Chilly? I don't know this word.
It's much warmer where you're from, isn't it? Don't you feel cold?
I suppose.
I don't imagine we can find a cloak in your size, can we?
What?
Nothing. Nothing. Don't mind me. Now I wonder where I could get a skein of good wool yarn.
Why do you keep looking at me like that, mage?
I beg your pardon. I didn't mean to stare. I've never seen a Kunari before.
You can blink once in a while, I'll still be here.
You can stop flinching, Sten. I'm not going to harm you.
I do not fear harm to myself.
What is that supposed to mean?
An unbound mage is like a wildfire, as prone to simply consume itself as it is to devour all that surrounds it.
I do wish you wouldn't refer to mages as it. Are all Kunari as quiet as you are?
Are all mages as chatty as you?
That's fair.
Sten is not a name, is it?
Do you always begin conversations this way?
It's your rank, is it not? I've met a few Kunari in Antiva, you know. Not much for conversation, but some of them are quite easy on the eyes.
Those are not Kunari.
No? They are what then? Very large dwarves with comical accents?
They wear the faces of Kunari, but they are Tal Vashoth, fiends of Saheron. They have abandoned the Qun.
With titles like your own, though. Which makes me curious, what is your name then?
Sten is enough.
But it is not your name.
It is who I am.
I understand that there are elves in the Kunari lands, then.
There are elves everywhere.
Yes. Well, I've heard that the Kunari actually put the elves in charge over the humans. Is that true?
Some of them.
Only some? Which ones are they?
The ones who belong in charge. That is the way of the Qun.
How does this Qun determine who belongs in charge?
The Tamasrans evaluate everyone and place them where their talents merit.
But elves in general merit higher places than humans in Kunari society?
Some of them.
Back where we began. It's like talking to a water wheel.
Why do you call yourselves crows? Crows are scavengers, not killers.
I heard that at one time they considered calling us the Kestrops, but you know, it didn't sing. It didn't dance. You seem to have quite the disdainful attitude towards elves, my Kunari friend.
Don't take it personally, Elf. I have a disdainful attitude towards everyone.
True.
I have a question it may be able to answer, Elder Mage.
Must it always be Elder Mage? I'm not a wizened old crone just yet.
Would it prefer mage well past her prime don't mind the sagging bits?
You have an odd way of requesting answers to your questions.
I'm curious about the abominations of the tower. Is it possible for such a creature to become a human again?
Yes, it is simply very difficult. It requires travel into the Fade.
And is the mage the same afterwards as the mage was before?
No, I have never met such a person, but no, they are changed forever.
I understand. Thank you for the answer, wise one.
Better.
The Elder Mage watches me. I'm reminded of a certain former master whose head I crushed, or so I'm told.
Oh, I'm sorry, Shale. I am simply curious about you, that's all.
As my former master would say during his experiments.
Oh, I would do no such thing. I just find the idea of you so fascinating. On the one hand, it seems it would be so sad and so lonely in existence. And on the other, you are so very powerful. No golem I know of has ever had free will as you do. May I ask what you intend to do with it?
Other than exterminating the vermin of the sky?
Yes. Other than that.
I do not know. Crushing heads is fun, for now.
Well, that's something.
It seems I must retract a statement I made earlier. The Elder Mage is not at all like my former master.
Oh? That's a good thing, is it?
It is, unless you happen to like having your head crushed. Not that I remember doing that.
You know, I think I even remember who you speak of. His name was Wilhelm, yes? From the Free Marches?
It was Wilhelm of shrill voice and the control rod that he enjoyed wielding very much. Any more than that, he did not divulge.
Well, if it was the same man, he had quite the reputation. A scholar of some means who disappeared mysteriously.
Mystery solved. I killed him. I expect I smiled, much as I'm able to.
You do speak your mind, don't you?
Fortunately, no other part of me has anything to say.
Unlike the dwarf.
Shale, why do you refer to me as the Elder Mage?
Clearly because it is purple, and a hyena.
Then you simply wish to be perverse? Surely you're better than that.
I have found that I'm allowed precious few amusements. Since so many prefer to call me Gollum, I enjoy referring to them in a similar fashion.
Oh, very well. But could you at least use a different adjective? I do not wish my age to be my defining characteristic.
As the fussy mage desires.
Oh, I give up. Have you given any thought to your future, Shane?
I was thinking I might, join the Chantry, become divine, and have giant Andraste Golems fashioned to conquer the lands.
Truly?
No.
It was a serious question. One day the quest of these Grey Wardens will be finished one way or another. What will you do then?
The quest of the Grey Wardens is to destroy the Darkspawn, I thought.
Oh, so you share a larger purpose with them? Is that your ultimate goal?
I had not given it much thought. It might be better than slaughtering every bird in existence.
Well, yes, at the very least. It's worth thinking about.
Has the Elder Mage ever encountered another Golem?
I suppose there used to be one deactivated one stored in the tower's vault. I wonder what became of it. After all that's happened to the Circle, I'd be surprised if it isn't completely destroyed.
Why was it deactivated? Did it crush some arrogant mage's head after one too many commands?
I do not know, Shale. Perhaps it is just irreparably broken. I think it stayed in the tower because no one could move it. It is very, very old. I believe it came from Tevinter a long time ago. Perhaps someone bought it so it would guard the tower.
Its people do enjoy their slaves, don't they?
It was not a slave. It is a...
A tool. As I thought. No, don't deny it. No.
I have thought about what you said before, Shale. About slavery.
It is profitable, so I am led to believe.
It is wrong. And it is no more right to make a slave out of a golem. I think no one understood how golems were made, Shale. Perhaps we should have suspected, but no one knew. Golems were like spells. Useful.
I am useful. I'm better than any fireball, that I'm sure of.
It's not the same thing. When this is over, I will make certain that the Circle of Magi knows the truth. Your people should not be treated as objects.
I have no people. I mentioned the slavery because I knew it would be bothered. No other reason.
But it still deserves to... You are a very perverse creature, you know this?
It almost wishes it had a control rod, no?
I have a question for you, Shale. How does it feel to be a giant statue?
What a bizarre question. How else would it feel?
Well, let's see. Does it hurt? Do you feel like you've been buried under a pile of rock? Or do you feel nothing at all?
I have nothing to compare it to. How does it feel to be considered an inferior race when compared to others who are just as soft and weak as you?
Fine.
How very fragile it must be. One touch and its kind crumples, spilling liquid everywhere. No wonder they clad themselves in metal.
It takes more than just a touch, I'm sure.
I feel very solid and immortal. No putrid liquids to squirt out of me. Oh, no.
Now that you mention it, I suddenly rather feel like a delicate mushroom.
So, here is a question for the Painted Elf.
Painted elf? Oh, that's me. Oh, I do like that.
Am I to understand correctly that the Painted Elf is a crow?
Not literally, but yes, I am a crow.
As in a bird.
Is there another sort?
So the Painted Elf assaults helpless statuary with its feces.
If given sufficient cause, why not?
That is outrageous. The Painted Elf will stay away from me, or else.
I get a lot of that. I've thought about your predicament, my friend.
It has thought of a way to lure birds out of the sky.
I mean, your situation. Being made of stone and such, I imagine it must be terrible for you to see others together, you know?
Together? As in standing next to one another?
I speak of love, my sturdy friend, and the act of love. Surely this must bring you discomfort, knowing you can never partake in such pleasures.
That is disgusting. disgusting. It was bad enough that I had to suffer the occasional pair of villagers lying in my shade, but the idea of partaking...
You are stoic, my friend, and brave. You do us a great honor by suffering in silence.
I was not suffering, silently or otherwise, until now.
I understand.
I'm curious. Will the Painted Elf answer a question?
Why not? I appear to have all day.
The Painted Elf attacked the Grey Warden, and yet it still lives. Had the decision been mine, its skull would be pulp right now.
Oh, I don't know. Could you destroy something as pretty as I am?
Easily. I fail to see how any measure of attractiveness would make one difficult to crush.
Perhaps you do not know how to look then. Take a long look at our Grey Warden, my good friend. Right there, we have an object worthy of worship, no? One would have to be blind not to realize how very pretty we all are and how important that is to preserve.
Perhaps there are definitions of blind I have yet to understand.
So tell me, Shale, if you had the opportunity to become flesh, would you take it?
It does seem rather preoccupied with this topic.
Humor me. Would you choose to live, to breathe the air and taste the flesh? Or would you remain the immortal stone that you are?
Would I also get to age and bleed and become sick and die?
Of course. These are the things we accept for the blessing of being what we are.
Then no thank you. I have no need of such frailties.
You were once a dwarven woman, with dreams and passions and all the rest. Does that hold no sway for you?
Why would I wish to be that woman again? She gave up her body willingly.
And what of family, of children? Life does not begin and end with yourself.
I have no desire to produce offspring.
Your form is wondrous, that's true. But while you do not suffer the lows of life, you also do not experience the highs. It is something to consider.
It is nothing to consider. What it speaks of is impossible.
There are many great tales of lost kings who return to their lands to reign in glory.
I am not lost, nor for that matter, a king. And there's nothing glorious about me.
You are Merrick's son. You are the rightful king of Ferelden.
I am the son of a star-struck maid and an indiscreet man who just happened to be king. Look, I can't be king. Some days I have trouble figuring out which boot goes on which foot.
Complete fools are made leaders of kingdoms all the time. And you're not a complete fool.
What an utter relief.
And don't worry about the boots. Kings don't need to dress themselves. That's what advisors are for, isn't it?
And star-struck maids, apparently. So, you and Branka were really married?
Tell you what, boy. You ever been married?
Of course not. I was raised in the Chantry.
Think the hardest stone you can find. Marriage is for suckers.
So, no pitter-patter of little Ogren feet running around the home cave, I take it?
All I ever got out of that moss liquor was a headache, a deaf ear, a scratched up back, and that rash it took 3 different ointments to get rid of.
Wow. She gave up on you, did she? And here you are, a keeper, too.
Yep. A lot of tension around here.
You think so? Do you?
Know what I do to relieve tension?
I hesitate to wonder.
I polish the old weapon.
Really?
Yep. Give it a good shine with a dry rag. Then with a little grease.
That's disgusting.
You're telling me you never gave your blade the old spit shine?
I think that's private.
Really? Sodding Chantry and its rules. I like to do it right out in the open.
Where people can see you.
Yep.
Wait, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Never mind.
What was that soup you made for supper last night?
Oh, that's a traditional Ferelden lamb and pea stew. Do you like it?
Oh, so it was lamb then.
Oh dear.
It had a certain texture I don't normally associate with lamb.
They didn't make lamb and pea stew for you in Lothering?
We ate simply there. Whole grains made into biscuits or bread, and vegetables from the garden.
He did warn us
lightly.
way back in the
No heavy
beginning
stews.
that, well, if
so the
Morrigan's
last
not
lamb
going
you
to
had was
cook, you're
probably
stuck
cooked
with
Orlesian
mine.
style. food shouldn't be frilly and pretentious like that. Now, here in Ferelden, we do things right.
Oh,
we
honey.
take our ingredients, throw them in the largest pot we can find, and cook them for as long as possible until everything is a uniform grey colour. As soon as it looks completely bland and unappetizing, that's when I know it's done.
You're having me on.
Ha! You need to eat in more Ferelden inns. So have you heard? Morrigan and him are, you know.
Have you nothing better to do than spread idle gossip? And besides, he can probably hear us both. You're not being very discreet.
No, look, he's not even paying attention.
I'm looking right at you.
Maybe. You don't think that he's serious about it, do you? The woman is a vile fiend.
Well, look here. Now who's an idle gossip? Meow.
You're the one who started this, I might remind you. And I'm ending it.
So, let me get this straight. You were a cloistered sister?
You must have been a brother before you became a Templar, no?
I never actually became a Templar. I was recruited into the Grey Wardens before I took my final vows.
Do you ever regret leaving the Chantry?
No, never. Do you?
Yes. You may not believe it, but I found peace there. The kind of peace I've never known.
It used to get so quiet at the monastery that I would start screaming until one of the brothers came running.
I think I remember
I would
him
tell them
having
that I
this
was just checking.
conversation.
Oh, you never know, right?
No, I never did anything like that. I enjoyed the quiet.
Suit yourself. The look on their face was always
I
priceless.
miss you already, Alistair.
So, that game you were playing in camp, what was that?
Diamondback. You never played Diamondback, have you?
That's Diamondback? I've heard of it. I thought it was a card game played by dwarven...
Go on, say it. Prostitutes. It's not true, of course.
It's not?
Of course not. A noble hunter never charges money. Not if she wants to see him again, that is. Never saw one turn down a gift, though.
What does that have to do with card games?
Even a noble hunter can get bored. Tell you what, don't ever bet your clothes. They'll strip you clean and leave you naked in the street. Trust me.
I'll take your word on it. You know, I've heard about the Orlesian bards.
Who hasn't? They are quite famous after all.
The stories I heard were a little racier. It had to do with how a bard assassinated her target. How they were lulled into complacency.
If those stories were true, who would ever agree to entertain a bard in their court?
Oh, I don't know. There's a certain allure to danger, isn't there? And besides, you couldn't all be assassins, could you? I'd take my chances. If the stories were true, that is.
We had rules about that sort of thing. Strict rules.
Such as? You're not gonna tell me, are you?
Let's just say I had plenty of reasons to join the Chantry, shall we? And leave it at that.
I will never get over how quietly you are able to move.
It took me years and years to learn, and even then I am not the best at it.
So you didn't sneak around when spying?
We all had different ways of doing things. Some preferred not to be seen at all, to cloak themselves in shadow and darkness. I realized that it is not such a bad thing to be seen, as long as you do not stand out and are quickly forgotten. I specialized in blending in, not drawing attention and looking like I had every right to be there. It is invisibility, but of another kind.
Ah, yes. But I heard you often seduced your targets. They'd remember you.
Not if they died.
Oh.
Dying while in the company of a lovely seductress. Tell me that isn't a good death.
I don't know if I should take you seriously. But you scare me sometimes. So what do you think will happen to all those people we left behind in Lothering?
Some of them will find their way to Denerim. Many will die, as the Maker wills.
Don't you wish you could have stayed there? To help more people, I mean.
If the Blight isn't stopped, everyone will die. This is the greater good we're serving, both of us, right here.
So it's all right to let some people die for the greater good? I'm not so sure about that. I felt bad leaving all those people there, all panicked and helpless.
You're doing what you must, Alistair. There will be worse to come yet. You will need to steel yourself. You know this.
I've never been very good at that. The steeling myself part. I find it better sometimes to just be a little weak. I'm all right with that. Really.
I don't believe you. And either way, it's not as if any of us has a choice.
So tell me, was the Tower of Magi everything you thought it would be?
Abominations running rampant? Templars ready to slaughter every mage in sight? Yes, it rather met all my expectations.
You don't think you might have been better off getting your training there, instead of whatever your mother taught you?
You're right. My mother didn't nearly have as many abominations running about. That certainly would have improved my education.
I'll give you that one.
I'm so relieved.
So, you and the Grey Warden, huh?
I hope you're not referring to Alistair.
Him? Does he even like girls?
I believe the matter is still up for debate.
I'm right here, you know.
Anyway, you and the Grey Warden,
Do you actually have a question, Dwarf, or is it your intention simply to leer and drool?
stick with the classics. Leer and drool.
I thought so.
I didn't stop because I wasn't sure if he'd respond to that one, because I caught that conversation before.
Cage for 20 days.
It might have been closer to 30. I stopped counting after a while.
What did you do? I mean, 20 days is a long time to sit in one place and do nothing.
On good days, I posed riddles to the passers-by, offering them treasures in exchange for correct answers.
Really?
No.
Ah, too bad. That's got serious potential. You know, you never did tell me how you passed the time in that cage for so long.
No, I didn't.
So... what did you do in there?
A training exercise. I would observe an object, and then try to think of all the words in your language which began with the same letter as its name.
That? Wait, just wait. You're joking again, aren't you?
No.
You are not telling me that you played I Spy against yourself for 20 days?
There are a lot of things in Lothering that begin with G.
I Spy with my little eye something that begins with G.
Is it a Grey Warden? Is it in fact you?
Ooh, you're really good at this. Conversation just to put people at ease?
You mean that I should remark upon the weather before I cut off a man's head?
Never mind.
Watch where you're going, you sodding great horse of a dog.
Oh, he didn't do anything to you. Let it go.
One day, someone's gonna kick you, beast. Not saying who, but someone.
Civil War. I really wonder how much of it you understand. We're all special. Big parts to play. Even you, especially you in some ways. You are the Mabari. You guard one of the most important people... What? You want to play? But I'm talking. Why doesn't anyone want to hear me talk? Win?
Yes, Alistair?
My shirt has a hole in it.
I see. And?
Can you mend it when we get back to camp?
Can't you mend your own clothes? Why do I have to do it?
Sometimes I pick up too much fabric and it ends up all puckered and the entire garment hangs wrong afterward. And you're, you know, grandmotherly. Grandmothers do that sort of thing, don't they? Darning socks and whatnot. Don't want me to have to fight darkspawn in a shirt with a hole, do you? It might get bigger. I might catch cold.
Oh, all right. I'll mend your shirt the next time we set up camp.
Oh, and while you're at it, the elbows kind of need patching too.
Careful, young man, or puckered garments may be the least of your problems. What? Stop fussing with it. You'll make it worse.
It itches,
Yes, it's healing. Don't touch it.
but it's distracting. Can I rub it through the bandage? That's not really scratching.
Alistair, if you open that wound up, I'm not going to heal it again. You can just treat it yourself. And if it festers, weeping bloody pus, and burns like the flames of Andraste's pyre, don't come to me. All I'm going to say is, Alistair, didn't I tell you not to touch it?
won't really fester, will it?
Why don't you try scratching and see?
I guess it doesn't itch so much now. So, you know about him and Morrigan, right? You've heard?
I think I know what you are talking about, yes.
And you agree with it? You don't think that it's dangerous?
Dangerous for whom? Her or him?
Anyone. She's Malefica and rotten to the core. How could he even... this can't be a good idea. She can't be a good influence on him.
I will admit that the thought did cross my mind several times. But look at it another way. Perhaps he will be a good influence on her.
You know, you are just too understanding about stuff like this. Can't you be more judgmental? I'm trying to rant here.
Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead and rant, dear. And I'll just nod my head if you like.
You know that I'm a Templar, right?
I believe what I heard was that you were not, in fact, a Templar. You were trained as one before you became a Grey Warden.
That's right, but I still have all the abilities of one, of course. That doesn't make you nervous.
Should it? I am no apostate. Perhaps you should be directing this question at Morrigan.
She claims not to be afraid of me, or anything, really. But you've had more experience with the Templars than her. I know how mages can sometimes...
The Templars serve a function, and a necessary one. If what has happened at the tower proves anything, it is that we mages can be dangerous, even to ourselves.
That's one way of looking at it.
And regardless, you seem like a decent enough young man. If you decide to slaughter me out of hand, I'm sure you would at least inform me first, no?
Oh, sure. Count on it. So, tell me, you have any children, grandchildren, I don't know, great-grandchildren?
What would make you think I have any children at all? You have to know I've spent most of my life in the circle of magi.
You just seem like the grandmotherly type to me, I don't know.
I suppose I'll take that as a comment on my demeanor and not my age.
Mages aren't forbidden to marry or anything, are they? It's not such an outlandish question.
Isn't it? What sort of man would marry a mage, do you think?
Well, how about another mage? There are just as many men as there are women within the circle, as I recall.
That sort of union is not encouraged. Although that does not stop us from seeking out each other's company from time to time.
All right. Suddenly you don't seem quite so grandmotherly to me anymore.
Good. I would hope not.
You know, of all the mages I've met, you have to be the first one I can honestly say I've really liked.
Why, thank you, Alistair. I am quite touched. I like you too, Alistair. I imagine my son would have grown up to be someone like you.
Your son? I thought you said you were never married.
That's true. I never have been.
Oh. Then this wasn't before you joined the Circle?
I joined the Circle at the age of 9. So, no. Do you still like me?
Yes. Why wouldn't I?
Good. It appears you got away from the Chantry just in time.
You had a son. What happened to him?
I honestly don't know, Alistair. He was taken from me. Such births are seldom, as there are ways to prevent it, but it does happen. And any child born to a Circle mage belongs to the Chantry.
I didn't know. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It was a long time ago. A very long time ago.
Couldn't you do something about it?
Do what? I was weak from the birthing process, and there were... No, there was nothing I could do.
Do you think about it?
All the time.
You know, Alistair, Antiva has a long tradition of royal bastards.
You don't say.
Oh, yes. They've led wars to claim the throne. Some of them have become kings. In fact, I'd say the current royal line in Antiva stems from bastard blood several times over.
Well, aren't you just chock full of useless trivia today?
Sadly, whenever a royal bastard rears their head in public and declares themselves, it often goes poorly for them.
Let me guess. They get assassinated.
Only the very popular ones.
And the unpopular ones?
Well, they get by somehow, I'm sure. There was one fellow who did quite well working as a prostitute based on his uncanny resemblance to the king. Charged a fortune.
Couldn't afford him, I take it.
That cynicism will serve you well, my friend. Hold on to it. So, are you a very religious man, Alistair? I'm curious. I believe I heard you say you were raised in an abbey.
I was raised in a castle. I was schooled in the abbey. As far as being religious, I don't know. Not especially. What about you? Not in your line of work, I expect.
Why do you say that? I happen to be quite devoted in my way, as most Antivans are.
Truly? But you kill people. For money.
And I ask forgiveness for my sins from the Maker every chance I get. What manner of monster do you think I am?
But you ask forgiveness and then you go right on with your sinning.
The Maker has never objected. Why should you?
I have no idea.
Well, there you go. Perhaps you ought to think about asking for a little forgiveness yourself, huh?
So I have a question for you, Zevran. You're here, at least in part, to get away from the crows, right?
That is indeed true.
So when this is over, what do you intend to do with yourself? You can't go back to Antiva, I assume.
What I do depends in large part upon your fellow Grey Warden. I am not a free man, as it were.
Yes, but what if you could do whatever you wanted?
Oh, I don't know. Aren't you going to be king? Perhaps you have people you need killed.
Is there some reason I shouldn't just kill them myself?
See, it's that sort of talk that is bad for business. Have you no thought to supporting the employment of your subjects?
Not for assassins, I don't.
That's the lovely thing about kings. They make for good business as the client or the target.
And people wonder why someone might not want to be king. So, why would the crows send you, Zevran?
Is there some reason why they should not?
Plenty of reasons. Starting with the fact that you weren't exactly the best they had, were you?
Slander and lies. For shame, Alistair.
I'm not an idiot. Well, not most of the time. You're no raw recruit, but I've seen you fight. You're no master of combat by any means.
Assuming that I intended a fair fight, that would indeed be a problem.
But the crows must have master assassins the way you describe them. Men with years and years of experience. Why not send them?
Why not indeed? It is a mystery for the ages.
Oh, I get it. You're not going to tell me.
Morrigan said you were sharp. No liar, she. Still with these stern glances, Alistair?
Didn't answer my question about why the crows wouldn't send their best man.
So for that, I must suffer all these fearsome glares? Oh, you are cruel to subject me to such torture.
If you aren't telling me, there must be a reason.
If you must know, the masters do not often take contracts outside Antiva, and I made the best bid.
Best bid?
We agreed to pay the guild a portion of whatever the contract offers. The one who agrees to pay the most gets the contract, so long as the guild deems them worthy.
And they thought you were worthy.
Against a pair of Grey Warden recruits. Apparently so.
Were there many who wanted the contract?
None. You are still Grey Wardens, after all. And even in Antiva, killing members of your order is considered impolitic. It made the guild's decision considerably easier, I imagine.
Well, that's comforting. Somehow. So do you ever want to go back?
To Honleith? Perhaps it should stare at a patch of grass for 30 years and then tell me how much it misses it.
Point taken. Still, if you can't remember anything else ever, it would be scary to leave, I think.
Fortunately, I am not as comfortable with the mundane and familiar as some.
Ooh, ow, ow. Sort of an adventurer, I see. Brave new world, that sort of thing.
And instead, I should be content to remain in that village, standing still out of fear of the unknown. What life is that? I know what I am now. I know how I was made. I can move forward. It, who has had so much more, should do half as well.
Thanks for that. I feel really good now.
A pleasure. Next time we shall speak of its grammar and personal hygiene. I find it very odd.
It meaning me. Am I in it now too? I feel honored.
For one who professes to be a warrior, I find it remarkably weak-willed and indecisive.
Thank you?
It also likes to hide its many weaknesses behind a veil of jocularity.
For a statue, you know a lot of big words.
Is there a reason it enjoys following others so much? Especially when it is in a position to lead.
Have you ever been responsible for someone else's life? Or a lot of other lives? Or an entire nation?
Of course not.
Then shut up.
I will remember this moment when the birds come. I am told that it lost a large number of comrades in the battle with the Darkspawn.
Me? I guess I did, yes. I didn't know all of them that well, however. Mostly just Duncan.
I'm unfamiliar with this name.
It's not important. You don't need to know who he was.
I cannot remember if I ever had anyone important to me. All I remember is being given orders.
I would gladly be following Duncan's orders right now, if I could.
It enjoys following others. I find that odd.
You wouldn't understand. Don't worry, I don't expect you to. So, Shale, when you were standing there all that time, did you sleep?
I have no need to sleep. My body does not tire or do other flesh-related functions.
But don't you get bored? Wouldn't you want to dream at least?
I do not dream. This is what it does when it sleeps. It paws its nose and mumbles incoherently.
Yes, of course. I thought we all... Huh. You watch me?
I watch all closely when they are still at night. There is little else to do.
For hours and hours?
I count the breaths. It helps to overcome the overwhelming urge to crush their faces while they sleep.
Well, I won't be doing much of that anymore. So tell me something. Do you feel pain when you get hit in combat?
This is when it squeals loudly and spurts blood about. This is when it feels pain.
Maybe. I've seen you take some bad hits. Don't you feel anything?
Anger, rage even, perhaps a little distress. Is this pain?
I'm not sure. I don't think I call it distress, exactly. It's more...
For me, it is more...
That sounds more like a bowel movement. I mean that sharp, stabbing... Like that?
No, nothing like that.
No? Huh. Good to know. So this bird thing of yours...
I do not have a bird thing.
Yes, you
I
do,
have an
Shale.
extremely justified rage of the flying vermin that plague this world.
But
Bird
there are
thing.
some birds that are useful. Like the ones you eat.
I approve of the ritual slaying of the foul beast, but it eats one? Disgusting.
Oh, they're really quite tasty. You just need to rip off the feathers first. I like the skin myself.
I think I'm going to be sick.
Ooh, golem vomit. This I have to see.
I know I've got all the two-person interactions. I may have missed some of the three-person possibilities for interactions, but I've got all of the rest, and we will move on to something else finally next time.